I know people tell you, oh, look at your credit score. I'm telling you, don't look at your credit score. The reason why is because your credit score, when you look at your credit score, how do you feel?
I feel down.
Okay. When you feel down, do you want to do anything about it?
No, I try to run from it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I try to run from it.
And that's what I've done.
It is.
Your credit report will give you actionable things that you need to do to pivot your score in the right direction. So when you're looking at your report and you actually start taking those action, what will happen? It will start pushing up your score.
Welcome to the Black is the New Rich podcast. This is episode 13. I'm your host, Corey Cash. And this is a very important episode. I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I needed help when it comes to credit. That's knowing credit, how it works, and actually fixing my own credit. So I had to search for the expert, and I got her here today, and her name is Porcia. Please introduce yourself fully.
Hi, everyone. And I'm so excited to have this conversation because I love speaking about credit because credit is so important. And I know that a lot of us were sleeping on the power that credit has. So my name is Porcia. And I am a mortgage agent. I'm a credit repair coach. I am also a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit organization, and everything that I do is just to feed my nonprofit, which is about helping the youth to level up. So how do we help the youth? We have to first help ourselves, which is the adults, because we are the people that the youth are looking to. So if I could impact the adults with the resources that they need to level up in their life, then they can help their kids, right? And we can help the next generation to be better. So that's what it is. And I love working with women. I love community building because that's what it is. Helping my community I'm very passionate about that. So I'm hoping, and I know I don't even need to hope, okay? I know that by the end of this, you guys are going to take so much from this because credit is the key to life.
Okay, amazing. So before we get into it, I just want to know, with all your life experiences, what is the best advice that you've gotten in your life, and what is the worst advice that you got in your life?
The best advice I got in my life is to trust God, okay?
Wow.
To trust God with everything, to trust God with all of me. Because, and the worst advice is wait 7 years for your things to disappear of your credit, okay? And run away from collection calls. That is the worst advice I ever got, because you know what? I took that advice, I listened to it, I did that, and it actually ended up being worse for me, right? So a lot of times we got to listen to people. We hear things from people, our family members and everybody, but we take things with a grain of salt because at the end of the day, you're the one that it's going to cost.
Wow, amazing. Okay, so let's get into the lead up. You're in the financial services.
Yes.
Like, where did this start for you?
Oh, where did it start? So my story, I used to have horrible credit. I always say, I'm not embarrassed anymore, but I used to have horrible credit. So I used to have a credit score of 400. Okay. Wow. I was in the 400 club and it was embarrassing. And I always tell people, I am the one when collection people call, I am running away. I used to be a runner. Okay. I think I was even faster than Usain Bolt when it came to collection calls. Okay. And even lying and, changing your name. All of us, I know all of you guys can relate. Changing your voice, pretending like it's not you when they know that it's you. Okay. And that's what it was. I was a runner. And then when I started working at the bank, and I started really helping. I used to do underwriting for credit and loans. And I'll be sitting there underwriting deals. And I remember, we got to be transparent, okay, and vulnerable here. I remember I used to laugh at clients who had bad credit. And I'm sitting here with 400 and I'm laughing at somebody because I'm going to be declining you because your credit is bad, right? And then I'm sitting, one day it clicked for me. And I'm like, you're laughing at them, but you have it worse than them, okay? Yeah. So you need to do something about it. So I made a...
If you guys are enjoying the episode, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
Decision one day that I was going to fix my credit so that I can have some peace of mind in my life. Because I didn't want to take OSAP, so I wanted to get a student loan. And I went and they declined me. And because of that, I could not go to school for that semester.
Wow.
Right? And that cost me something. So I'm like, you know what? What can I do? So I made a decision, since I have the opportunity here, underwriting deals and really understanding how lenders think about credit and how lenders are really using credit to make decisions, I started to learn. I decided to learn. So every time I'm learning, what is this? What is that? I had the desire to learn and to do better for myself. So then once I started learning, a lot of us, we like to learn, but we don't like to take action. Okay, let's just be frank. We like to learn, but we don't want to take action. But then I started to take action. And the more I took action and I started, you know what? I thank God I had taken care of my collection debt. So I didn't have collection, but I had other debts that were hindering me, right? Other debts that I ignored. So I started to tackle them. Okay, let me pay this. Let me pay that. One thing I used to abandon, a lot of us, our phone bills have landed us in bad credit, okay? Because we don't pay it, right? Because our credit card is important, but our phone bills are not important. So it's like, you know what? Who cares? Rogers and Bell can get their money next month. But then when you're saying that, they're reporting you as not paying. So then I used that, and then I took that in my hands and I started to fix my credit. And then I started to see the impact. I went from 400 to 500 to 600 to 800 to 900.
900.
That's the highest my credit ever was. Gee. And I started to really understand. And I started to understand, how does these people calculate credit? So I started to study there's 5 categories. I started to study each category, and then I started to use those categories to really impact my credit in the right way. So right now I can, you know what, even if I have a credit of 700, I know why my credit is like that, because I know what I'm doing, what I need to do to get me to what I need to be.
Okay, amazing. Wow. So first of all, I just want to I'm going to ask you questions on what you just said, but let's start basic. What is credit?
Okay, so one thing, credit is borrowed money. And I always say this, a lot of y'all don't know what borrowed money is, okay? Borrowed money means you borrow it, somebody is lending you money, and then you have to pay it back, right? A lot of us, we have people calling us for 10 years still asking for that $200 they borrowed you, right? And that's what it is. You have to pay back. So it's money that they borrow you for products and services, and even for credit cards, for loans, with the intent that you are going to pay it back. So they are trusting you with their money. They are actually assessing your risk and saying, you know what, we can trust this person. They have a good character. But then when you don't pay, you are showing them that you cannot be trusted. And that's what credit is. Okay. It's borrowed money with the intent that you gonna pay it back. But people don't like to pay people.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that basically your credit score is from your credit report.
Yes.
Right? So is that it's just a calculation of your behaviors.
Yes.
So that's what it's about.
Yes. And that's the thing. And one thing that I always tell people is, when we're talking about psychological stuff, right? Because when what we focus on is what is either going to impact us in the right direction or in the negative. Okay. But when we're looking at credit is something that you take action on to make it better. If it's not, and even if you have it and it's great, you still got to keep on checking it to make sure that you are maintaining that. So a lot of times people look at their credit score, and I've been really teaching people. I know people tell you, oh, look at your credit score. I'm telling you, don't look at your credit score. Don't look at it. Don't ever look at your credit score. And the reason why is because your credit score, when you look at your credit score, how do you feel?
I feel down.
Okay. When you feel down, do you want to do anything about it? No, I try to run from it. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I try to run from it. And that's what I've done. It is. And that's what it is, because your credit score is just a number. Your credit report is the actionable things, because it tells you why that score, because your credit report is what will make the score. So your credit report will tell you, how are you behaving on these things? It gives you actionable. So it will tell you, have you missed payments? How is your utilization? Are you using too much? And it even will tell you the percentage of utilization that you are in, that you should be staying out of, right? So your credit score will give you your credit report will give you actionable things that you need to do to pivot your score in the right direction. So when you're looking at your report and you actually start taking those action, what will happen? It will start pushing up your score. Okay. So that's why, because of psychologically, if you look at the score, you're going to get angry. You're going to be like, you know what? It can't be fixed anyway, so let me just leave it. Or you're going to remember what your mama or somebody told you that 7 years is going to fall off. So you're just like, okay, who cares? I don't need credit. But then it comes back to bite you. So look at the report. because that's where lenders are looking at. That's the behavior and the character that they're looking at.
I look at my credit score on Credit Karma. Can I find the report there to tell me these actionable steps as well?
Mm-hmm. Credit Karma is also, because when you open up your Credit Karma, I have it too. Credit Karma has your credit report section, and it also has your credit score section.
Yeah, because I only go to just check my score.
Yes, but that's because that's what you have in your head that you need to be looking at. So it has both things, right? And the thing about Credit Karma will give you information about TransUnion. In Canada, there's 2 credit
What
companies.
is TransUnion?
TransUnion is a bureau. It's a credit bureau that manages your stuff. So there's Equifax, which is another one, and there's TransUnion. Credit Karma will give you information about your TransUnion credit. Whereas Borrowell or Mogo, those are other free services. They will give you your information about your Equifax. Right? A lot of times we just look at one score and we never look at the other.
So there's multiple scores?
There's 2 credit companies that people are reporting to. And a lot of times you can probably open your Borrowell or your TransUnion and Equifax, and you see that the credit scores are 2 separate. They're different. You're just like, okay, how come my score is different? Because each person is there's certain things that you have that are reporting separately from each other. So let's say with banks, TD will report to, let's say, Equifax, whereas BMO will report to TransUnion, right?
So they see different scores.
They see different, that's what they're pulling. So they're seeing different scores, right? You will see different scores because if not all your credit products are on both of them together, then the scores are not going to be. And then all of them also have different algorithms of what there is that they're looking at.
So there's a lot of stuff
there's a lot of stuff. So make sure you're not looking at just your TransUnion, or you're not looking at just your Credit Karma, but you're looking at your Equifax, which is your Borrowell. But the thing too is all these free services are great, but a lot of times when you're focused on your score, when you go onto Credit Karma or Borrowell, those free services, the scores are not always as updated as if you actually go to the main source, right? And then also, if, one thing that I keep on telling people is, people are like, oh, all of a sudden my bank gives me access to my credit score. The reason why is because your bank has always known your credit score, because they're consistently checking, especially when you have products with them, to see what your risk tolerance is. And that's how they're able to even give you pre-approvals. A lot of times you'd be sitting there, oh, you have a pre-approval. This is because they're consistently there. So now they're sharing that information with you. So when you go into the app, you can see your credit score and your credit report
and that's accurate.
In the app. That's accurate because that's straight from TransUnion or straight from Equifax, depending on the bank that you're with. Right? So that is what it is. So that way you're consistently checking it and you're consistently being updated. But the only thing I caution is that through your bank app, they only give you for 3 months. It recycles every 3 months. So let's say you go in there, you're like, oh, my credit is 800. And then you go next, you go, oh, my credit is 800. It's not that accurate because they stamp it from the day that you click it and it gives it to you. And then it recycles every 3 months. So that's why it's really important. And then one thing too is, in Canada, as a Canadian, you do have access to your credit report. They give you free. Every year, you have access to get a free report from TransUnion and Equifax, right? Because if you're focusing on your report, once you get those reports, you get to know, are there any errors on here? You get to really take a fine-tooth comb and just go through it. Make sure there's no errors on it, because if there's errors and you're ignoring it, then you have bad credit because of somebody's error. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So help me out. I personally, I'm not afraid to say it, I messed up my credit very young, especially when I was just getting into college. So I have some things on my collections, student loans that still need to be paid. Where am I starting?
Where do you start?
Yeah, where do I start? Begin to fix this.
Okay, so the thing is, we can't start something that we don't acknowledge.
Okay.
Right, and it's good that you are talking about the fact that being transparent and saying, I done messed up, right? And that's okay. That's okay. And that's where it starts, for you to say, you know what is going on? How can I fix it? Right? So you go and you look at the reports and you see what is going on with my credit. Start writing it down. And then you start looking, okay, if I need to pay collections, okay, now what are some strategies that I can put in place to address this? Okay, if I have a collection debt, can I call and maybe negotiate? right? Negotiate. And one thing too that I find when it comes to collection debt is a lot of, this is something that just through my research I had to discover. A lot of people don't know this, right? When you get a letter from the collection agency, you have a right to write them back and tell them to validate the debt. And if they can't validate, as in, let's say they send you a letter saying that you owe $2,000 with Rogers, you can write them back and say that, can you please validate where this debt is coming from? And they have to write you back. If they don't write you back after a while, they have to delete it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They have to delete it because remember, with OJ, if the glove don't fit, you must you must acquit, right? If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. If you can't, because you're coming to me and telling me I owe.
Yeah.
I don't remember this debt. You know what I mean? I don't remember this debt. So if you can't validate it, then I don't know who you are. Like, no, like you can't come to me and say you owe me something, but then you can't give me a reason or you can't give me a receipt to what it is that I owe, right? So that's the thing, because a lot of times, even when it's not ours, it comes and we're like, oh, it's okay, it's in collections, I'm just gonna run away. No, you have to validate. You have to write them and ask them to validate the debt. And you can only do that when they first write you a letter. Okay. You have 30 days to respond to that letter. Oh, okay. Right? Okay. Because that's during that time before they actually hit your credit with it, right? Okay. So you write them back, write a letter stating that you should validate. And this information, if you go into the Canada.ca website, it's on there. When you type in your credit report, it's a government thing. It's on there. Okay. But a lot of people don't know this. Okay. Right? So you get to know that. Right now, you can't validate because it's past the time. But still, even going through and seeing, are there errors on my credit that I need to address that maybe might get that taken off? Okay.
And how do you dispute an error?
How do you dispute? You write a letter. Okay. Right. So I have some dispute letters that I help my clients write. So you write a letter and you tell them, you know what, this is what it is. I have a template, and then you mail it to them. Okay. Right. And then they have to respond. If they don't respond then it's deleted. From a time, then they have to delete it.
Wow. And have you heard of clients getting their disputes deleted because they didn't respond in time?
People get it deleted. There's so many, but that's the thing. And even sometimes when you're looking on your credit and you're seeing incorrect names, incorrect addresses, incorrect, all of those things, if you go write them a letter and say that this is not my name, right? Because remember, the names that are on there are names that when people type in things, right? So if they make a mistake on your name, it becomes an error. And sometimes it can affect you when you go to get things, to borrow stuff, because it's like, okay, why does this person have so many names? Like, why is that name this? Why is that? Right. So it can affect you because of, let's say, a lender or a service provider putting in incorrect information. So you have to go on there and have them write a letter and state, you know what, this name is not my name. This is not my name. This is this, or this is not my address. Right? These are incorrect information. And sometimes by writing that letter, sometimes they can even delete things that are in collections that are attached to those addresses and those names. Oh, wow. Right? Okay, so you have to dispute. And you have to be also, even if they write you a letter back and they say, oh, this is valid, you write them again. Okay. Right? Because it's about persistence. The more you're persistent.
So if they validate your credit, what's the next step after that?
There's another round. So there's different methods of disputing, right? But you just got to be persistent with it, right? But even contacting the collection agencies, and even as low as even doing, a settlement. A settlement is
that's like a payment plan.
It's paid, yes. Doing a settlement or even a payment plan, right? So that at least you're addressing it.
Because they paid for your debt. They paid your debt, or they got it for cheap or something like that.
Yeah. So basically, the lender or the person that you owe will sell the debt to them, and then now they have to collect.
Oh, for a cheaper price. Oh, so that's
not a cheaper price, but they're trying to collect the whole debt. Okay. Right? But they bought it for cheaper.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So now they want to collect it because that's how they make their money, right? So that's why they're aggressive. That's how they go on the way they go on. But at the end of the day, you also have to be stern, right? Yeah. If they're telling you that you owe this, then they must validate that. Yeah. right? And even when you get a collection letter, make them validate it.
Yeah.
Right? Go to the source. And then also, even if it's a situation where you already paid the debt long time ago and they're still coming after you, make sure we are always keeping every bill that we're paying. Keep receipts. Keep the receipt, because one day if it comes back that they never got it, at least you can go and say, I have the receipt, I paid, this is an error, and they'll remove that off of your credit.
Okay.
Right? So always keep your receipts. Even when you pay with collection agency, you can even tell them, you know what? I'm going to pay, but I want you guys to send me a letter stating that I am able to pay this debt at this amount. Okay. Then I'll pay, because then you have the receipt. If they come back and say that, oh, you only paid this much, at least you have paper documents stating that you guys agreed to pay that amount. Right? And then once I pay that amount, you can even negotiate with them. Once I pay that amount, can you guys delete this off of my file? Because I paid it. Delete it. Right? And you can talk to them about that. Right? But it's just a lot of times we don't want to talk. And it's like, especially in our community. It's like a scary process. In our community, you're just like, just leave it.
Hey, that's me.
Bun them. That's what we say. We just say, bun them, just leave them. You know what? Just who cares? Just leave them. Yeah. But no, we can't leave things that's going to affect us. And the reason why it affects us, because we live in a society, North America, credit is everything. You need credit for everything, right? You need credit for everything, and credit is an opportunity for you to use other people's money to build wealth. Who doesn't want to do that? Yeah. When you're building wealth with other people's money, when you're creating legacy and generational wealth with other people's money, that is the goal. And that's what the 1% are doing. Yeah. They're rich not because they have all the money in the world, because they know the value of credit, because they use credit to buy income generating assets. But we, especially in our community, again, we like to buy liabilities. We want to buy all these things. The shoes, the clothes. Yes, because we're always seeking after status, but status ain't gonna pay your bills. Okay? Bars. Status is not going to pay your bills. Status is not going to get your children out of Jane and Finch or wherever it is that you're trying to get out of. Bars. Right? It's about education and wisdom. That's why the Bible says, lack of knowledge, my people perish. And that's why we're perishing, because we refuse. It's not that we don't want knowledge. It's because we're refusing knowledge, and we're refusing to take action when we have that knowledge. That is the problem.
Jeez, that's a lot. Okay, thank you. So I fully understand how to deal with credit bureaus now, like getting them to validate, what I owe. Here's another myth or fact. You can tell me if I'm on the right path. So I grew up knowing that if you wait 7 years, then everything disappears and you'll be good again. Help me out. Okay. What's going on?
And that's what the issue, and that's the advice that I was saying. I was told, if you wait 7 years, everything would disappear. That's fine. But remember, a lot of these collection agencies, they recycle debt. They sell your debt. And sometimes 15 years later, and the same collection agency is still calling you. I actually had to take a call for somebody. Sometimes I just like talking to these collection agencies because they're ignorant. So we can be ignorant together. So this guy calls and he's like, oh, this and this and that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, this debt was supposed to be, it's off of the credit bureaus. Okay. It's off of TransUnion. It's off of Equifax. So why are you calling me? He's like, oh, because it's off doesn't mean that you don't have a moral responsibility to pay your debt. I'm like, you're not even supposed to be calling me for a debt that is like, 8 years old. Yeah. It's supposed to be, he's like moral authority. I'm like, listen, you have a moral authority not to call my phone and collect debt that was gone long time ago. That doesn't affect me. But that's the thing.
That's our scare tactic.
Yes, but that's the thing. I always tell people, if the debt is going to affect you in the long run, pay it. Because even after the 7 years, TD still knows that you owe them. Right? These major banks and these major companies that we use on a daily basis that we need, pay those. If you're not going to pay anything, pay those ones. Because one day when you need a mortgage and the only person that will look at you is TD, and then TD seeing that there's a bad history with them, a lot of times, it's about your character. Right? Lenders measure your credit. There's 5 C's of credit. And the biggest one is your character. Okay. Right? Because I always tell people, your credit report is what is dictating who you are. They don't know you. So they're judging who you are based on your credit report and your credit score. So you can't get upset when somebody's saying that you're a crook because you don't pay your bills. You can't get upset because the reason why you can't get upset is because you're the one that presented this to them. Yeah. Right? They're doing it based on your behavior. Yeah. So if your behavior is showing them this, you can't get upset. Yeah. You can't get upset. Fair, Just pay your debt and also measure what is going to affect you. Like I said, this same client that I'm talking about, they try to go to Rogers to get a bill. And I told you this debt was from like 2006, right? Yeah. And they call Rogers to try to get a Rogers bill, to get a Rogers phone. It's not even contract. This is a month-to-month account. They won't get it. And Rogers said, no, you still owe us $1,200. I'm like, so that was a long time ago. They're like, so you still owe us. When you pay us, we will give you another account, right? Jeez, so these things, when we leave things, it costs you, right? Negligence and procrastination will cost you. Yes. Will cost you. So address it when you need to address it. Don't ignore it and say 7 years, but in the 7 years, you owed more than the initial one. And sometimes when you look at, you owed Rogers maybe $200, and then now the debt is almost $2,000 because of interest and because of all the late things that have been on it. So if you leave things to last minute, pay it. You'll pay for it later. So if it's going to affect you, deal with it, right? I know some credit repair people will be like, don't pay it, just do dispute and this and that. But I say, look at it, measure what it is. If it's, let's say, payday loans, maybe you never go back to cash money again. Yeah. Right? Because you're done learning your lesson. Now you need to stay away from them, right? Maybe you never go back there. But if it's a bank that you know that you might need their services one day, pay it. Okay. Fair. Pay it. Fair.
Okay. So
or settle.
Settle. Okay.
Settlement is a payment.
Okay. So I want to know, how does the Capital One stuff work? Capital One cards. I tried to get some information. Should I get a Capital One card because my credit is shot? How do I go about that?
So Capital One is rebuilding credit, and Capital One is one of they're very good when it comes to helping people rebuild credit. So Capital One can give you, and I see that a lot nowadays, some of the banks are starting to allow people to get secured cards. Okay. So it's called a secured card.
What's the difference between a secured
card? So there's a secured card and an unsecured. So unsecured is when you first got your credit card, you didn't have to put a deposit. Yeah. And they gave you. Oh, yeah. So that was unsecured.
They set me up.
But that was unsecured. However, a secured card is secured to a collateral where they say,
pay the money.
Yes, you give them, let's say if you want $1,000 limit, you give them $1,000 and they will give you $1,000 limit. Right? And they hold that collateral. And eventually, if you behave well on your card, after a while, they'll give that money back to you.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay. But you have to be consistently for let's say 6 months to a year. You have to consistently make sure you're paying your bills on time, that you're utilizing it on time, that you're doing what you need to do, because that's building your credit. Okay. Right? So if you build your credit, eventually they will give you that collateral back and turn that card into an unsecured.
Oh, unsecured one.
Into an unsecured card. Oh, right? Because they're holding that money because in the event you run away, they have that money to pay the debt.
Okay. Another question. Are there any cards that we should stay away from?
Cards?
Like credit cards?
You know what? I think the thing about credit card is, I will say, if you don't have any financial education, if you don't know how credit cards work, stay away from it. Okay. Educate yourself and then get those credit cards, because, especially, and I think sometimes too, I believe that we should even have a course, maybe I'll create this, but a course for especially immigrants.
Absolutely.
That comes to the country.
Especially Canada.
Yes. A course for immigrants that come to the country. Yeah. Because a lot of times, back home, I don't know, some people think that abroad here, we're living on gold mines and stuff, right? They think that's why they think that they can call you every second to be asking and begging for money. No, we're not, okay? People got to work hard for their hard-earned money. So one thing is, for the immigrants, educating them about how credit works, because where they're coming from, it's not a credit operating system. They don't run credit, especially Jamaica, Africa. Yeah. They don't run on credit. It's just a cash economy, right? So when they come here, they're like, oh my God, like I can use it, I can pay later. Yeah. So let me get it. And a lot of people run up their credit. It's like kids. I always say, we need to, the government needs to take these credit card things off university campuses.
That's how I got mine.
I know. That's because they promised you like a $40 gift card.
They're just in the hallways. Come sign up. And I signed up.
And they give you a gift.
Yeah.
I remember York University, they were giving people $40 York U gift cards.
And people were just...
Of course, because people want to eat.
Yeah.
Right? And then also, even when you go to Walmart, sign up for this card, you get 10% off. Yeah. People do it just for the sake of that, but people are not understanding the more you're doing all of these things, it's affecting in a negative way. Yeah. Right? Because every day if you go to Walmart and you say yes and they fill the card and there's an inquiry, it's affecting because it's dropping your credit, right? Because just for 10% off, just for like $2 off or $7 off, you're going to go ruin your credit. But if you don't have the credit education, don't get credit.
Okay, fair.
Go online, learn about it, learn how it works. Talk to me. Learn how credit works. Yeah. Right? Learn how credit works, because that's what I want to do. I want to start partnering up with organizations to teach credit to young people starting from like grade 8.
We need it.
Start understanding how credit works, because we're talking about how money works. Yeah. That's fine, but we need to talk about how credit works, because money and credit goes hand in hand. Okay, fair. So that's part of financial education. Okay, fair. Understanding credit. So that's what it is. Educate yourself before you get it, because the interest rates, when you rent it up and it's like 19.99 and you're crying because now you can't afford $400 or $500 a month, that also is eating out of your cash flow, right? And low cash flow at the end of the month is why a lot of people are suffering in life, right? So educate yourself, get to know about it before you get it.
Okay, dope. So talk to me about how credit utilization works. Like I've heard that you should only use like 30% of your credit card, whatever the limit is. Why and what is the actual rule?
I love credit utilization, right? I was able to get to the credit level that I am because of utilization. And I call that your superpower. Okay. That's what I call it. It's your superpower. Okay. I've been able to increase clients' credit score about 50 points in 2 weeks because of utilization. Okay, wow. Right? Because the thing about utilization, let's say back in the day when I was working as a lender, right? And I'm looking at utilization. Remember, lenders, the more you're using, it's not a good representation of you, right? Because they give you the card, they want you to use it, but they don't want you to use it too much. Because when you're using your card so hard,
it's like you're dependent on it.
You're dependent on it. Okay, you're cash stressed. Because is there something going on in your environment? Because a lot of times when you see those things, you can see that there is something going on in the background where maybe there's limited cash flow, why somebody has to
using so high.
Yes, so you become risky, right? So I always tell people, if you want your credit to go as high as you need it to go, even though a lot of people are paying their bills on time, but they still are not utilizing the power of utilization. Okay. So utilization, don't use no more than 30% of your credit limit. So if you have $1,000, don't use more than $300.
Wow. Okay.
And what I say that also because don't use more than $300 by the time the statement prints.
Okay.
Meaning that everybody has a statement date. Yes. Right? So let's say in the month you use $500. Okay. Right? And you have 1,000. Okay. Make sure you pay it down to $300
by the time
before the statement prints, because when the statement prints, if you paid it down to $300, it's not going to show $500. It's going to show $300.
Okay.
Yes, that's my hack that I always tell people. Okay, that's my hack that I always tell people. So that's what it is. Make sure you're utilizing your card, because there's 5 categories. There's payment history, which is 35%. Utilization is 30%. There's
that build your credit score.
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
So 35% of your credit score is your payment history.
Yes.
30% of your credit score is utilization, right? And 15% is the length of time you've had your card.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So the longer you've had credit history,
Yeah.
the better it is for you. The lower of a risk you are, because
Makes
that shows
sense.
that you understand and you can manage credit.
Makes sense.
Right? And then 10% is new credit, right? Meaning that how like people are going out there and credit seeking and just inquiries, right?
Yeah.
That affects your credit too. So
Okay.
new credit, don't only get credit when you need it. Right? Don't get and start applying to everywhere, because every store wants to give you $25.
Yeah.
Right? Every store wants to give you $25. Right? And then also lastly, 10% is the mix of credit that you have. So
like
we
different
talk
cards?
Yes. So
Okay.
meaning diversification, not different cards per se, but different credit products. So
Okay.
we have installment loans, we have revolving
Like
credit,
car
we have
loans.
car loans or installment loans, because
okay.
you have all the balance thing and then you just got to pay in installments.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
And then you have revolving credit. So those are lines of credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have service credit, which is, your phone bills, your utility bills, your cable bills, and those things, right?
Okay.
So having diversification of credit, the same way as they always say, if you're going to invest, don't just invest in real estate, have diversification.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You have to diversify.
Same thing with the credit
Yes.
industry.
Yes, because the more things that the lenders see that you have, the more trust they'll have in you, right? Because if you've had a mortgage before, they know, okay, this person managed it well, so we can trust that, yes, they are able to manage
The trust system.
It's a character.
Yeah,
Character is number one. Character is number one when it comes to lending. It's a trust, because that's what credit is. Can we trust you to give you this money?
Okay.
Right? Because we remember banks and lenders are using other people's money to give you. Right? So when because when we put our money in the bank, we all know that they are investing our money and giving us like little bit of percentage on interest. They're investing our money.
Yeah.
So when they give you credit, they're using other people's money, public assets to give you. So they have to measure your risk.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they lose it, then now, yes, they have to sell it or they have to do that. It becomes a liability in their books.
Okay.
And nobody wants liabilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so when is the best time to pay your credit card? Because I seen you mention like your statement date and like the payment. Like when's the best time to pay it and how to pay it?
The best time to make a payment is, so there's a statement date and there's a due date.
Okay, what's the difference?
Okay, so your statement date is when your statement prints.
Okay.
Your due date is usually about 21 days.
Okay.
Right? Of your card. So that's when your due date is. So whenever you get your statement, it will show a due date.
Yeah.
And it will show a statement date, even with your phone bills.
Okay.
It tells you this is when it's due. And it's usually due before, like let's say about 7 days before your statement prints.
Okay.
Right? So whatever your statement prints as is what is going to be reported on your credit bureau.
Oh, makes sense.
So make sure that you're making your payments and you don't even have to make your payments in full. Just make sure you make your payments.
Yeah. How much are we paying? Like, let's say my credit card bill's $1,000. Like, how much are we paying off? Like, is there a best way, like a best amount?
The best amount to pay is to pay in full, because then you don't have to pay interest, right? But if you can't afford the full payment, make minimum payments, because at the end of the day, you just don't want to miss a payment.
True. So the minimum payment doesn't go against you?
No.
Okay.
Because that's a payment.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If maybe you have a minimum payment, but your utilization is so high, that would affect you.
Oh, okay.
But it will always show that you've made your payments on time, and that's what they're looking at. But I always recommend, if you can make more, make it.
Okay.
If it's not going to hurt you, make more, but just make sure that because all they require from you to keep a good payment history is minimum payments. And if that's all you can do, that's okay. Who cares if your friend can make a full payment? You can do it. Do what you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Do what you can.
Okay.
Do what you can to keep you still in that good status.
Okay. So I've heard a system like for example, it's called like the authorized user. Like someone could put me, or I can be their authorized user, and that'll help my credit.
Yeah.
Does that work, or how does that work?
You know what? When it comes to authorized users, I know that in Canada, an authorized user, you used to be able to, leverage your credit.
Okay.
Right? But no more, not in Canada. In the US, yes. Authorized users, you can use an authorized user.
So
right?
that would be like, for example, my mom putting putting me under her credit system, and then that will help my credit.
Yes.
And we can't do that here.
You can't do that here. No. In Canada, no. Right? Because they don't have your credit file to be able to be posting that, to be pulling that. So in Canada, no. I remember when I started at BMO, that's when they kind of ended that program, and that was I'm not going to age myself, but neither here nor there. Yeah. I'm not that old, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so authorized users, because I hear this a lot, that authorized users can build credit by going on somebody's. In Canada, no, but in the US, yes, right? In the US, yes. But also, if let's say you're in the US and you're listening to this and you want to put an authorized user, don't put a lemon as an authorized user, okay? Don't put somebody who's going to actually negatively affect you.
Because it negatively affects yours.
Yes, because, and even if you as an authorized user, right? You as the main borrower, right? If you don't pay your cards right, why would I want to be an authorized user to you? Because it's not benefiting me. It's actually hurting me. Right? So make sure that if you're going to choose an authorized user, it's somebody that's going to actually help you, not hurt you. Because if they're not managing it well, it affects you too.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Okay. And if also the borrower is not managing it properly, it affects you. And it's like you ruin your credit and their credit is ruined. And it's like, what was the point of doing this in the first place? Okay. But when it comes to authorized user, one thing that I would say is you can actually utilize an authorized user to teach your children or their youth how to manage credit. So let's say as a parent, you can put your kid, let's say an authorized user, I think the age is usually about 13 years old that you can add. So what you can do is that you can use that, even if you have like, let's say a second card, drop that card to, let's say $500, right? Put your kid as an authorized user on that card so that when they're using it, because it has their name on it, so they'll think that card is theirs. So then that's how you can start to teach them how they can manage credit by showing them, okay, what is credit all about? Credit is borrowed money. So if you're going to go and if you think that it's okay for you to spend $300 on the new Jordans, then you better make sure that at the end of the month that I'm going to take you to the bank and you're going to have to pay that bill. And when kids know that they have to pay, a lot of times they'll say no. But the reason why kids are always trying to spend on all of that is because they want to use other people's money. They want to use our money, but we can teach them the value of credit. And also as a listener, if you're in the US as well and you're listening, you know, authorized user can also be a powerful tool for your youth. So at 16 years old, you add them on there. By the time they're 18, as long as you're managing the card properly, they will have great credit by the time they're 18 because their credit is being built as well.
Wow. Okay.
I wish they had that here. They used to, but I don't know what happened. Maybe there's legality things that were happening because things always change because there was complaints or something that happened. But in Canada, authorized user does not benefit you. But in the US, yes, it can benefit you.
Okay. So you mentioned early that your credit score was 400 and you got it to 900. How long is that process, or how long did it take?
How long did it? It didn't take long, right? It took me
like
about
years?
No.
Oh.
I think it was like about 18 months.
That's it.
18 months. You got to put in the work.
Well, because I'm thinking, because I'll be transparent. My credit score is 605, right?
Okay.
And I wanted to get to that 800, but my limiting belief was, this is gonna take so long. I'm just gonna build my businesses out, get the bag, deal with it later.
But this is my question, though.
Yes,
why
please.
do you want to get to 800? Why?
I just feel like it's a good credit score to
have.
have.
But that's the problem, right? Because at the end of the day, we stress over things because why are we building credit? So that lenders will give us something, right? So if a lender can give you something at 700 or 680, because as a mortgage agent, I can get somebody a mortgage. The minimum credit score is about 680, some of them 650.
Okay.
Right? So why are you so worried about getting 800? Because you got to lay the brick by brick. I always tell people 800 is like the vanity one. It's like you just want to brag and rights to say, I got an 800 credit score. But lenders don't care if you have an 800 credit score, because it's not only credit that they're looking at, it's other things. So if you can get to the comfortable range for you to still benefit from the good interest rates, why do you need to just take 2 years? And that's what I always say to people. Like, I had a client call and she's like, I want to fix my credit. And I'm like, what's your credit? She's like, 700. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah, that's not fixed.
She's like, I want to buy a home. And somebody told me I need 850 to get it. 800 or above. I'm like, no, you don't. I can get your mortgage right now with what you have.
Oh, wow.
Because there's other things that go into play when it comes to that, right? And that's the thing. Lenders will give you, but it's just you understanding. It's about understanding what are lenders looking for, because we're fixing our credit to position ourselves so that they don't see us as a risk.
Okay.
So if they're the ones looking at it, what are their guidelines?
Okay.
What are their guidelines, right? Because 605, you're closer to 650. So you work at getting to 650.
And then it's 700.
And then you work at getting to 680.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Apply for the cards that you want. Make sure you clean everything on there. Because the reason why your credit is not where you need it to be, because you need to address the credits, the collections.
Okay.
Once you address the collections, then let's get you a secured card.
Okay.
And then use it properly. Get a secured card with a plan. What is your plan? A lot of us get things and don't understand. What is your plan for getting credit?
Okay.
Why do you need credit? Like, what is your plan? Have a plan.
Okay.
In life, every decision, why are you doing it?
Okay.
Right? Because if you're using it to pivot yourself so that you can get the good interest rates, you can leverage other people's money to build wealth, then that's your focus. So what credit score do I need? How do I need to position myself? How can I align myself so that I am doing the things that I need to get me to where I need to be? Right? So if you get a secure card, you're not going to run it up again and run away. No, because you have a purpose for why you're using it. Because eventually you want to not have a secured card.
Yeah.
Right? Eventually you want to be able to increase your credit. And one thing too is I coach and I teach people to build their credit so that lenders come begging them for approvals, for pre-approval cards and pre-approved increases, rather than you calling to get those. Because when you call them, it affects your credit. But when they give it to you, it doesn't, because they've already been doing that checking, right? And they offer it to you, right? So I went from $1,000 credit limit to $30,000.
Oh, geez. In that 18th month span.
Yes. And it's because, right?
Because now at the age I'm at, right? I'm like, if I had that type of limit, now I would know what to do.
But that's the thing. But it requires, because even like right now I can say, with my business, my utilization is high, but I know what I need to do. My credit is still over 7, almost 800, right? I know what I need to do, right? And that's the thing. Once you educate yourself, even when you have some time where you slip, at least you know what you need to do to get yourself back there.
Yes.
Right? Because at the end of the day, if my credit is 700 and I can think, why am I stressing out? Yes. Why am I stressed? I don't need to be stressed, because I can still go to a lender, because at the end of the day, as long as my ratios are in line, as long as my income to debt ratio is good, that's all that matters, right? So you clear the debt. You got to make sure we're clearing our debt, because those things can affect you when it comes to approval of credit cards, approval of anything, because they always ask for your income, right? So you clear your debt, you kind of chip at it, but make sure that you understand so that you can consistently win this credit game, because it's not hard. You're just basically using...
It's ignorance on my part. It's ignorance, to be honest.
It's not hard. What I always tell people is, listen, you can't use something that they're not using. So you use what they're using to pivot your credit in the right direction. So you get to know how a credit score is calculated. I just gave you guys the 5 categories. So now you're going to use the 5 categories to help your credit in the right way. And that's what I did. And I understood the power of utilization. Right? So when they will give me credit cards, I took it because it helped push my utilization. And then one thing too, this is a strategy that really helped me. If you have $1,000 and they increase you to $3,000, still have a mindset of $1,000, still use $1,000.
Because of utilization.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So every time, if they increase me to $3,000, I will still have it in my mind that I still have $1,000. So I will use it like I have $1,000.
Okay.
That way you stay away from debt. You don't push it too high.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you have to do, especially if you don't understand financial literacy.
Yes.
First, get yourself aligned with somebody to help you to know how money works, right? Because money should be working for you. We're working too hard for money.
Okay.
When money is just a tool, right? But we're allowing this tool to use us, but it's supposed to be the reverse. You need to learn how to use that money, how money can work for you, because money can work for you if you know how.
Okay. Bars. Jeez. One last question. When do we know to like close credit cards?
Okay. So this question, don't close credit cards, especially if you've had them the longest. Because remember I said 15% is the length of time you've had your card. Yes. Right? So a lot of people like, I don't need
even if they're not using it?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't matter. You have to don't close it. Okay. Right? Start using that. Yeah. Even if it means putting a Netflix account on it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And show them that you're using it. Yeah. Right? Because if you don't, then if you cancel up all your old cards, then let's say you have a card for 5 years and you cancel it. And now you have a card that you had for 3 months. They're only gonna you just deleted all that history. Yes. You just deleted all that history.
Wow. Okay, I get it.
And you're starting fresh.
Yes.
Nobody wants to start fresh, especially in the credit game if you're trying to utilize it for building wealth. Yes, you definitely don't want to start fresh. So, and then also a lot of people will say, you know what? I want air miles. I have a cashback. I want air miles. So I'm going to cancel the air miles. Yeah. No, call the company because you can always merge to a different card, like a different points card instead of deleting it and reapplying for a new card.
Yeah, and then you're just resetting.
Just call them and just have them transfer you over to that card.
Wow. Okay. A lot of gems. Thank you so much. I have a question that I ask everybody on the show because in the future, I want to play it back and like Portia said that she was going to do that. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh. Where do I see myself in 5 years? I see myself as a business owner because you know what? I am tired of being self-employed, okay? Because the goal is not to be self-employed. The goal is to be a business owner. So in 5 years, I want to really be very in-depth in helping my community, right? And I want my credit business to be well-renowned because I want to revolutionize how people see credit so that they can use it to build wealth.
Amazing.
And also when it comes to my nonprofit stuff, I want to build schools in Africa.
Wow, amazing.
I want to do that in 5 years. That's one of my goals.
Amazing.
Right? Because as much as it says we get, but we also, to whom much is given, much is required, right? So with everything that you're doing it not for you. You're doing it so that now you have the opportunity to give back to help other people. So we use our businesses and our wealth to lift up our community, to lift up people. And that's what it's about. So that's what our purpose is, right? Service. I'm not saying that everything, it's about service because is that law of reciprocity, right? Right? And it even says in the Bible, right? It's the giving.
Yes.
The blessings is in the giving, right? So you do other people and everything that I'm doing, I don't do it for me. I always say my mission is bigger than me. It's about how I can help people to really see that life is not a struggle. Yes. That life, there's so much beauty in life only if we're willing to play, right? And I always tell people, the world is a playground. But who's willing to play?
Yeah. Bars. Okay.
Who's willing to play? You got to play.
I like that.
You can't sit on the sidelines. We can't be spectators now.
Facts.
You got to be in the game.
I like that. Okay. Tell everybody what you got going on because I know you have some courses and how they can contact you. Okay. All that good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to work on I'm trying to figure out how, like with my Instagram, how to title because I'm doing so many things. But you can find me on Instagram at Portia Does Mortgages. And in April, I'm going to be launching some courses. I have a credit academy coming up. So Amazing. It's the GFM Credit Solutions Academy, where I'm going to have courses. I have a coaching program coming. And one thing too is I have a membership program where you take the courses because we're not just fixing our credit, just to sit down. We're fixing our credit to build wealth. In my program, I'm going to have guest speakers from different things to come teach us how we can use our credit, the new thing that we have to build wealth.
Amazing.
So having investors come on, having people who are doing, if you're interested in crypto, because I know people are just thinking about crypto, whatever it is that you're interested in, we'll have somebody come on and come advise you, so that as you are fixing your credit, you are really seeing the opportunities that are out there to building wealth. Because that's what it's about.
Okay, dope. One last thing. Do you have anything else to say to anyone?
No, thank you. Anything else to say to anyone? That's a hard one. You know what? All I have to say is, you know what? Trust in the Lord. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all ways, consult him and he will make your path straight. And that's what it is. As long as you're trusting in God, everything that you're doing, because even like I told you before, I never, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I always allow, God, what should I say? What should I do? Right? And if he's the leader of your life and if he's the one that's guiding you, life will never be hard. Jeez. You will always win.
Jeez. We're leaving on that. Episode 13, Black is the New Rich with Portia. Thank you so much for your time.